to drink? Orange juice or hello?
There's a lot of things I'm good at, but pretending this family isn't completely falling apart isn't one of them. Remember when Friday nights weren't up for debate? You planted yourself in front of ABC, the TGIF lineup took over, and for the next 2 hours, your weekend basically belonged to television. Then along came Step by Step, the blended family sitcom that took the Brady Bunch idea, gave it a 1990s attitude adjustment, and tossed in enough sarcasm, chaos, and driveway weirdness to make it feel like its own thing. Patrick Duffy played Frank Lambert, the flannel-wearing contractor dad just trying to keep the house standing. Suzanne Somers played Carol Foster, the salon-owning mom somehow holding the whole circus together. You add in 6 kids with completely different personalities, plus Sasha Mitchell's Cody, the van-dwelling cousin who somehow became the secret sauce, and you had one of TGIF's most unforgettable families. The show premiered on ABC in 1991. It ran for 7 seasons and gave us 160 episodes of sibling battles, parent lectures, awkward crushes, and the kind of sitcom life that felt just messy enough to be believable. Today we're going to dive into 15 crazy facts you probably never knew about Step by Step. And stick around for number 15 because the Lambert house was hiding something behind every establishing shot that most viewers never caught. Now, before we get started, be sure to hit like and subscribe to Back Before TV and Cinema, and share this with a friend who hears that theme song and instantly is back in TGIF mode. Now, let's get into the countdown with number 1. Number 1. Cody was supposed to be a 1-episode character. So, when Cody Lambert first showed up on Step by Step, nobody had big plans for him. He was a one-off, a throwaway cousin who could roll in, say something kind of odd, and then disappear back into wherever throwaway cousins go. But then the studio audience got a look at Sasha Mitchell, and the plan changed immediately. The reaction wasn't polite laughter. It was that full-on can't-fake-it eruption that every producer in a Miller-Boyett show was always quietly hunting for. The same lightning bolt that had turned Steve Urkel from a 1-episode neighbor into a cultural phenomenon a couple of years earlier. When it happened with Cody, the producers recognized it instantly. They huddled up and Cody stopped being a guest star. Mitchell was funny, sure, but Cody defied every expectation he walked in with. Lived in a van, had the energy of someone who quietly spent time with Jeff Spicoli. You just expected some dumb comic relief, but what you got instead was somehow the most grounded person in the whole house. He was weirdly wise, fiercely loyal, and equally comfortable talking to the parents or the kids without it feeling forced. And here's what made him genuinely rare. He worked on every level simultaneously. Teenage girls had his Tiger Beat posters on their walls. Dads just kind of respected him, which is not something sitcom characters usually earn from that demographic. He was the rare sitcom character who could pull in everyone in the room without appearing to try. Happy Days had Fonzie, Family Matters had Urkel, and Step by Step had Cody Lambert. The van in the driveway fit naturally into an already packed household and became one of the most recognizable setups in the show's entire run. A beat-up van in a driveway that somehow felt like the most inviting spot on the whole street. None of it was planned. It happened because one audience on one night reacted to something real, and that you genuinely cannot manufacture twice. Number 2. The show was basically the Brady Bunch, but with attitude. Now, by the early 90s, the wholesome family sitcom was running on fumes. Perfect parents, perfect lessons, perfect smiles, every problem solved in 22 minutes with a big hug and a soft piano sting. Audiences were tired of it, and ABC knew it, so they did what TV always does when it needs a fresh idea. They borrowed an old one and roughed it up a little. Step by Step was pitched around ABC as a modern Brady Bunch. Same bones, 2 single parents, a mountain of kids, instant domestic chaos. But this time, nobody was pretending it was easy. Frank Lambert was a blue-collar contractor. Carol Foster ran a beauty salon out of her home. Blending those 2 families wasn't some cute little adventure. It was a full-contact sport. The pitch worked. ABC greenlit it almost immediately. And here's the detail most people don't know. The casting of Patrick Duffy wasn't just about finding the right Frank Lambert. It was also about fulfilling a contractual obligation. Lorimar Television, which produced the show, owed Duffy a new series after Dallas ended its run. Step by Step was built specifically to honor that deal, which is part of why it paired him with Suzanne Somers. The idea was simple and deliberate. Combine 2 of the most recognizable TV stars of the 1970s to pull in adult viewers and surround them with current teen favorites to bring in the kids. It was engineered from the ground up to own Friday night, and for most of 7 seasons, it absolutely did. Number 3. Suzanne Somers turned a Hollywood blacklist into a comeback story. So, if you watched Step by Step in the 90s, Suzanne Somers looked just like part of the package. Funny, warm, totally at home in the chaos. But what most people didn't know was that a decade earlier, Hollywood had basically written her off. In 1980, at the peak of Three's Company, Somers asked to be paid what her male co-star was making. The number she wanted, $150,000 an episode, up from $30,000, plus a cut of the profits. ABC's answer was swift and not exactly subtle. Her role got quietly chopped down to awkward 60-second scenes filmed separately from the rest of the cast, like she was slowly being edited out of her own show. And then she was gone entirely, with the word difficult trailing behind her like a bad review that nobody could shake. For most of the 80s, Somers wasn't headlining sitcoms. She was doing Vegas shows and selling Thigh Masters on late-night television. Which, look, the Thigh Master made her a fortune, but it wasn't exactly the second act she had in mind. But then, Step by Step came along. And Carol Foster wasn't Chrissy Snow with a mortgage. She was a business owner, a mother, the person holding a 6-kid household together while everything around her was actively on fire. Basically the anti-Chrissy Snow. Smart, capable, and completely in charge of her own life. The reinvention was deliberate, and it worked. By the mid-90s, the same network that had quietly pushed her out was now building their Friday night lineup all around her. Christine Lakin, who played Al on the show, later said that Somers was the most glamorous person she had ever met, and that her warmth and humor made her completely real and down-to-earth to everyone she worked with. She called her a second mom in the formative years of her childhood. The Thigh Master era was officially over, and Carol Foster had entered the building. Number 4. Patrick Duffy took the job so he could be home for dinner. Now, here's a wild piece of step-by-step history. One that starts with 13 seasons on Dallas, oil empires, and a career decision that had nothing to do with prestige. Patrick Duffy played Bobby Ewing for so long that half of America probably forgot he was acting. He could have chased anything after Dallas ended. Bigger movies, prestige drama, another power role on another network. But instead, he chose a sitcom. Not because it was groundbreaking, but because sitcom life meant rehearsals during the day, one shoot night a week, and most importantly, you were home in time for dinner with his kids. That wasn't a preference, it was a condition, and that decision shaped everything about Frank Lambert. Because Duffy wasn't trying to steal scenes or build another legend, he just wanted to do good work and go home, so he leaned all the way into the everyman. Gone were the tailored suits and oil money swagger. In their place, flannel shirts, work boots, and a guy whose biggest concern wasn't a corporate takeover. It was keeping the lights on, and 6 kids from burning the house down. Bobby Ewing would have never survived the Lambert house. Frank Lambert wasn't trying to be Bobby Ewing. Duffy also went on to direct several episodes of the show starting in the 2nd season, which gave him even more control over his schedule and his workload. Patrick Duffy later said that the 2 best friends in all of his life were Larry Hagman and Suzanne Somers. The chemistry between him and Somers wasn't manufactured for the cameras. It was real from day one, 2 veterans who had been through the Hollywood ringer, and neither one was trying to outshine the other. Just 2 adults who looked like they had actually earned a second chance at something good. Number 5. Steve Urkel literally crashed into the show and changed its reality. Now, Step by Step was supposed to be grounded, a blended family comedy about sibling friction and the everyday chaos of 2 households becoming one. Normal sitcom stuff, but then episode 2 happened. 1 week into the show's run, Steve Urkel showed up in the Lamberts' world, bringing his signature chaos, his signature awkwardness, and his complete inability to exist in a room without making everything significantly more complicated. And the way he got there, only on TGIF. The Family Matters episode airing immediately before Step by Step that night ended with Urkel launching himself out of the Winslow's backyard via a rocket pack. Step by Step then opened with him landing right in the Lamberts' backyard. 2 shows, 1 uninterrupted sequence, no seam. ABC wasn't easing Step by Step into the lineup, they were announcing it. Because the moment Urkel crossed over, Step by Step stopped being a new show finding its footing. It was officially part of something bigger. The TGIF Friday Night world, where everyone existed in the same loosely connected universe, and your favorite characters could theoretically wander into each other's lives at any moment. Dropping Urkel into episode 2, not episode 10, not a sweep stunt, episode 2, was a deliberate move. It told every Family Matters fan watching that Friday night that this new show was worth sticking around for, and that the Lamberts were part of the family. For a generation of kids who built their entire Friday night around that ABC lineup, it worked exactly as intended. Urkel didn't need a dramatic entrance, though to be fair, a rocket pack is about as dramatic as it gets. Number 6. That legendary intro was completely fake. Every season, same opening. The Lambert Foster crew screaming down a massive roller coaster, bumper cars, sunshine, and somewhere in the background a giant glistening lake stretching out like Wisconsin was basically a beach resort. It looked perfect. It also was completely made up. The entire intro was filmed at Six Flags Magic Mountain in Valencia, California, and that massive white roller coaster the family was riding. That was Colossus, one of the biggest wooden roller coasters in the world at the time. Real ride, real screaming, real terror. That part checks out. But the lake? Pure fiction. Magic Mountain sits in the middle of dry, landlocked Southern California. There is no ocean, no lake, not even a convincing creek, so the production team did what TV does best. They painted one in. Literally. Old-school matte effects erased the parking lots and California hills and replaced them with a sparkling body of water that had absolutely no business being there. Go back and watch the intro in HD sometime, and you will notice that the lighting on the water does not quite match the rest of the frame. It is just a little too perfect and a little too still. Nobody caught it in 1991. Nobody was supposed to. And while the audience was busy buying the illusion, the cast was busy riding that coaster over and over again until the crew got every shot they needed. By the end of filming, some of the younger kids probably weren't acting dizzy. They just were. 2,000 miles from Lake Michigan, surrounded by a California desert, and somehow selling Wisconsin summer vacation to an entire generation. That is TV magic at its most committed. Number 7. The Lambert house was a Hollywood illusion. Now, that house felt familiar. Not just TV familiar, but personally familiar. Like it could have been 2 streets over from wherever you grew up, on a block you had ridden your bike down 100 times. And that was not a coincidence. That was South Pasadena doing what it does best. Hollywood had been quietly using that neighborhood as a cheat code for decades. No palm trees, no obvious LA energy. Just wide streets, old trees, and houses that look exactly like the kind of place a blended family from Wisconsin could actually live. It is the most convincingly Midwestern block in Southern California, and the film industry knows it. Step by Step was not the only show that figured it out. Nearby, you have streets used in Halloween, which means while Frank was inside fixing a leaky pipe, Michael Myers was technically in the neighborhood, and not far from there, father of the bride. Same perfectly normal suburban dream energy. Hollywood has been recycling those streets for years, and most of us never noticed. But here is the part that really sells it. That porch you remember, the wide, welcoming one where half the show's best scenes happened, that was not the real house. That was built on a soundstage at Warner Brothers, along with the driveway, the van, and most of what you picture when you think of the show. The real porch exists. It is just considerably smaller and considerably less Cody. The actual house gave them the establishing shot. Warner Brothers gave them everything else. You grew up feeling at home in a place that was half California Street and half studio construction, and it worked perfectly. Number 8. The show made characters disappear without a word. Here is something that will mess with you if you think about it too long. At some point during Step by Step's run, there was an entire extra kid in that house. Brendan Lambert, Frank's youngest son from his first marriage. In the early seasons, he is there, quiet, sweet, filling in the adorable little one slot in the family lineup. Not a breakout character, but present and accounted for, and part of the household. And then, somewhere around the time the show moved to CBS for its final season, he just was not. No goodbye episode, no throwaway line about summer camp or a grandparent's house. The writers just stopped writing for him. The leading theory was Lily. When Frank and Carol had their baby together, Lily effectively filled the youngest child role, and Brendan quietly stopped appearing around that same time. Instead of giving the character a send-off, the writers just handed his job to an infant and moved on. Brendan was not even the first. Back in season 1, Carol had both a sister and a mother woven into the fabric of the show. Aunt Penny, Carol's man-hungry sister, was a series regular. Carol's mother Ivy was a fixture too. By season 2, both were simply gone. No farewell, no forwarding address. At the time, these changes were easy to miss. No streaming, no rewatch culture, no one keeping receipts. But go back and watch it now, and that house has a very different head count depending on the season. Blended family on the outside, disappearing act on the inside. Hey, quick pause. Which step-by-step character was your favorite? Cody, JT, Dana, or someone else entirely? Drop it in the comments. And hey, while you're down there, hit like and subscribe so you don't miss our next trip back with Back Before TV and Cinema. Number 9. JT was shot in real life and still came back to finish the show. For most of its run, Step by Step existed in that perfectly sealed TGIF bubble. Bright lights, easy laughs, nothing that followed you to bed. But then 1996 happened. Brandon Call, JT Lambert himself, was driving home after a normal day on set when a road rage incident escalated fast and ugly. Another driver followed him onto a dead-end street and then opened fire. Call was hit in both arms, still clear-headed enough to drive himself to a police station. When the news broke, it landed differently than the usual tabloid noise. This was JT. The flannel-wearing, wisecracking goofball from Friday night TV. Not exactly the kind of story you ever expected to hear about someone from that world. What happened next says a lot about who Brandon Call was. He came back to work quickly. No dramatic storyline built around it, no special episode, just back on set, back in scenes, and back to business. Except the show quietly adjusted around him. The tank tops disappeared. Flannels, hoodies, long sleeves, anything that covered his arms became the new wardrobe default. Camera angles started doing a little extra work. The production kept the illusion intact without ever drawing attention to why. Most viewers never noticed. That was the point. Call eventually stepped away from acting after the show wrapped. No big Hollywood pivot, no chasing the next thing, just out. Somewhere between that dead-end street in Burbank and the end of season 7, JT Lambert had already said everything he needed to say. Number 10. The whole show was built on a marriage that wasn't legal. The entire premise of Step by Step rests on one impulsive decision. Two people met on vacation in Jamaica. 6 kids, 1 house, instant chaos. Except there was one problem. The marriage was not legal. 7 episodes into season 1, Frank and Carol got official word that their Jamaican wedding had not been recognized, meaning the whole blended family, the house, the chaos, the kids learning to coexist, was technically built on a marriage that did not exist yet under the law, which meant they had to do it again. Carol naturally wanted the full production. A reverend, a ceremony, something that felt like a real wedding. Frank, equally naturally, was perfectly happy to just sign a form at City Hall and call it done. But what they got instead was a ceremony squeezed in between the kids' birthday party, complete with Frank still dressed as a clown after filling in for the entertainment that had canceled at the last minute. It was chaotic, absurd, and somehow completely perfect for a show about 2 people who clearly never stopped to think before leaping. The whole series started with an impulse, and it made sense that the wedding did too, because that was always what Step by Step was really about. 2 people who jumped before they looked and then spent 7 seasons figuring out how to land. Number 11. The cast was secretly everywhere else in the 90s. Step by Step looked like its own contained little world. The Lamberts, the driveway, the chaos, and the story. But the cast was moonlighting all over the decade. Take Christopher Castile, Mark Lambert, resident nerd, glasses permanently attached to his face. While he was playing the smartest kid in Port Washington, he was also the original voice of Eugene on the first season of Hey Arnold, that perpetually unlucky, nervous wreck of a kid on Nickelodeon. Same actor. Which means the most anxious child on afternoon cartoons was also doing his homework in the Lambert house every Friday night. Then there is Jason Marsden, Rich, JT's best friend. A perfectly fine supporting character on the show, but that voice, that is Max Goof in a Goofy movie. Once you know it, you cannot unknow it. And Marsden kept popping up across the decade. Full House, Boy Meets World, always just one channel away. And none of these kids were actually kids. By the final seasons, most of the cast were well into their 20s, still playing high schoolers without batting an eye. So if you were genuinely in high school watching this and wondered why you did not look like them, the answer is you were a teenager and they absolutely were not. The Lambert house was full of adults in backpacks, and somehow nobody questioned it for 7 seasons. Number 12. The show was built using the exact same DNA as every TGIF classic. If Step by Step ever felt weirdly familiar, like you had seen this kitchen, heard this joke, watched this exact moment play out before, well, you were not imagining it. You had literally seen it before, just with different people. This was not about crossovers. This was about structure. Miller-Boyett Productions had a formula, and once you clock it, it is impossible to unclock. Every episode ran the same pattern. Chaos, sibling friction, somebody doing something monumentally dumb, and then right around the 18-minute mark, the music would shift. Soft guitar, maybe some piano, and suddenly Frank or Carol was sitting on the edge of the bed delivering life advice like they had been holding it all episode. A lesson, a hug, credits, scene. Full House did it. Family Matters did it. Step by Step did it every week. And every week it worked because Miller-Boyett had essentially perfected the formula by the time the Lamberts showed up. The sets even felt familiar. Not identical, but built around the same multi-camera sitcom layout. Open kitchen, central living space, and a staircase that somehow led into every important conversation. The character architecture was just as deliberate. Every show needed someone who sat just outside the traditional family structure. Someone who could drop in, stir things up, and leave. Step by Step had Cody in the driveway. Same parking situation, same structural role. Step by Step was not trying to reinvent anything. It took the blueprint, swapped in new faces, and trusted that the formula would hold. It held for 7 seasons. Number 13. Cody was a real-life fighter until real life caught up. On the show, Cody was the guy in the van with the laid-back philosophy and the occasional roundhouse kick. And that last part was not a character choice. That was just Sasha Mitchell. Before Step by Step, Mitchell had already taken over the Kickboxer franchise, stepping in to carry sequels for the series Van Damme originally started. He was a legitimate martial artist, a black belt-trained fighter. When Cody handled a bully like it was a mild inconvenience, nobody was calling a stunt coordinator. That was Mitchell doing exactly what Mitchell did. It gave the show a strange, very specific energy. 1 minute a family sitcom about chore charts and curfews, and the next Cody was casually dismantling someone in the driveway and then offering life advice using a sandwich metaphor. The combination should not have worked. It absolutely worked. And then somewhere in the middle of the run, real life stopped cooperating. In the mid-90s, Mitchell's off-screen legal troubles made headlines, serious enough that a squeaky clean TGIF family show could not look the other way, and it ended Cody's run without a send-off of any kind. Cody was just gone. 1 week he was in the driveway, and the next nobody mentioned him. The producers brought in Bronson Pinchot, already well known from Perfect Strangers, as Jean-Luc, a flamboyant French hairstylist clearly aiming to fill the energy Cody had brought. The ratings were already slipping, and Jean-Luc's arrival did not reverse the trend. Mitchell came back for a handful of episodes in the final season, and while it was good to see him back in that driveway, it was also a little bittersweet. The show was already on CBS, already struggling and already running out of road. Number 14. The cast once literally set Sasha Mitchell on fire. Now, here is a piece of step-by-step history that did not make the highlight reels, but that the cast has told at reunion events more than once. Patrick Duffy, looking back on the show, described the set as a place where fearlessness was the operating principle. He credited Suzanne Somers with setting that tone. He said she was absolutely fearless and that they did things to Sasha Mitchell back then that they would be arrested for today. The specific incident involved a scene where something exploded in the Lambert's backyard. Cody was supposed to come staggering in with smoke around him, looking like he had just survived something improbable, which for Cody was a Tuesday. The way the effect was achieved, Mitchell ended up with actual fire on his suit. Not a small flame. A real moment where the stunt crossed a line that modern safety standards would never allow anywhere near a network sitcom set. Mitchell walked in from the driveway with smoke genuinely billowing around him, having just been partially on fire, and delivered his lines. Nobody stopped the scene. The crew got the shot. The audience presumably laughed, and the show moved on to the next setup. It was a different era of production, a faster pace, less paperwork, and a cast that trusted each other enough to try things that would never happen today. Duffy told the story at a cast reunion with the affection of someone who knew they had all gotten away with something. Sasha Mitchell, for his part, showed up on time. Number 15. Dana and Rich were never supposed to fall in love. When Rich Halke first showed up on Step by Step in Season 5, the plan was simple. He was JT's best friend, comic relief, background noise, not exactly the raw material for one of the show's central relationships. And Dana Foster wanted nothing to do with him, which in sitcom logic meant one thing. Rich was easygoing, slightly goofy, and not exactly burning up the academic scoreboard. Dana was sharp, driven, opinionated, and had approximately zero patience for anyone who was not operating at her speed. They clashed every single time they were in the same room. The chemistry was obvious to everyone except the two of them. By Season 6, they were a couple, and Rich had moved into the house entirely. The best friend who came through the front door and never really left. The writers leaned into it so hard that the planned series finale was supposed to be Dana and Rich's wedding. A full send-off built around a relationship that started as a running joke between a slacker and the girl who could not stand him. Stacey Keenan, who played Dana, confirmed at a cast reunion that she had been working with the costumer on multiple wedding dresses and was genuinely devastated when the cancellation came through. The cast only found out the show was ending 2 weeks before it actually stopped. They thought they had at least 5 more episodes. They were cut off 3 short of where they needed to be. The wedding never happened. The show got canceled first, and for a generation of Friday night kids who watched Dana and Rich go from enemies to something real, the ending that never came still stings a little. 7 seasons and no goodbye. The Lamberts never got their send-off. They just quietly ran out of Fridays. And there you have it. 15 crazy facts about Step by Step that proved the Lambert-Foster household was a lot more chaotic behind the scenes than most of us ever realized. Which fact surprised you the most? Which character was always your favorite? Let us know in the comments, and hit like if this brought back some Friday night memories. Subscribe to Back Before TV and Cinema for more retro TV deep dives, and share this with a friend who absolutely would have loved to move into Cody's van if given the chance. Until next time, because this is Back Before TV and Cinema.